Combos of the day. Feel like Wilson standing behind a picket fence. Are you ready to run and gun? It's time for blast off. Let's go. Hey guys, Todd here with you. Welcome back to Bassin 101. We're trying to make fishing simple for everybody. Combos. Now, the theory behind combos. Okay, if you're going to put some rods and reels together, should you keep them all about the same so no matter what you grab, it feels the same? Or should you just go with the flow and have a different reel on this one rod and a different reel on this one rod and just everything? Because I've done that. The question is, how accurate is your casting? How accurate is your presentations if you're constantly switching massively to different kinds of combos? Can you do that? Some guys can't. Some guys can. There's a video that I've got in my collection from Rick Clunn. This was back, about 20 years ago when he had his line of rods and reels through Bass Pro Shops. And he was basically making the notion of you want all of your equipment to feel the same with the slight variances in the rod actions. And I think he's 100% right. But at the same time, everybody's different. You know, what you throw, what you like to throw is not what I like to throw, is not what Rick likes to throw. All right. So what I thought would be fun is you may remember a while back I did a video on these two Eagle Claw Jerry McInnes models, and I thought it'd be kind of cool in my lineup to have a set of rods that were basically a matching set with the same reels. And one of them, of course, is a medium and a medium heavy Jerry McInnes 7-to-1 reels with a Trimax line on it, the copolymer line, or actually tripolymer line, and the Eagle Claw Jerry McInnes rods, a medium heavy and a medium at a 5.5 foot. And there's also, I just recently got my hands on a pair of early 2000 model, so these are about 20 years old, Berkey Lightning rods. You could have got these at Walmart back in the day in tackle stores. These are 6 foot. One's a medium heavy. Same rods, just two different actions. Now here's the cool part. In my collection, sitting in the boxes, I haven't used them in a while, are Daiwa Tournament STs, the 1300s. And believe it or not, this is the longest lasting reel on the market, as far as I know. Now, I'm not going to put money on it. I'm going to tell you something. These reels first hit the market in 1987. Maybe early 88. I have to look back at my tackle for, the December issues of Bassmasters. But 87, 88, I want to think late 87s when these came out. And if you go on Daiwa's website, they're still around. Still around. What does that say about a $100 reel? Now you're thinking, man, $100. This reel's 35 years old. It's still made, unchanged. That's a lot to say about a spinning reel. But what I love about these, I love that. You know, I've got a bunch of old 1355 Regals that have that push button fold away handle. Hey, reel manufacturers, can you bring this back? It's not that difficult. This screw in the side of the thing so you can flatten the thing down, or flatten that handle down, stop making that. Just because Daiwa has a patent, it doesn't mean that you can't copy some fashion of it. And Daiwa, please bring this back. You kind of did it with the Crossfire, although you've really got to fight it to bring it down. But, I mean, and it doesn't get caught on nothing. And when I'm ready to fish it, oh, that's beautiful. Bring it back! This loosening and then flattening, and it still pops out unless you got a cover on it. Even the $500 reels do that. Bring the flip back, just like the chef in the Muppets say, de flip, 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 fluke it. Bring it back. But these are two 6-footers, and they're identical. And I've got 10-pound transoptic on one, and I've got 6-pound transoptic on the other. And the reason is, you know, if I take these 4 combos out, I can fish them in a day easily, because this rod feels just like this rod. Except this one is my medium heavy, or this one is my medium. So it'll throw slider worms easily. 6-pound test, I prefer 4-pound test, but what I'm trying to say is, you know, if I'm throwing spinning rods, here's a matching set right here. And then if I want the bait casters, I got a matching set right here. So, yep, that's 4 rods on the boat. 2 are identical to 2 others. So you're really not losing anything if I decide to, you know, if I'm throwing a slider worm, my line's coming loose. If I'm throwing a slider worm on one, and all of a sudden it's like, well, I kind of want to throw a Fatty Z or something like that, well, then I might have one tied on this one. And guess what? It's going to feel exactly the same. The blank may be a 1/4 ounce heavier because it's just a heavier action rod, but that's not the point. It's the same thing with the Eagle Claws. The medium heavy is just slightly heavier than the medium, but there's more blank there. That's why. It's more material to make it stiffer. That's just the way things are. But you know, with these, medium has 12-pound and the medium heavy has 17-pound. And I can do anything I want to with these. Even with the 12-pound, I can throw top water on if I wanted to. I can crank with it if I wanted to. I could throw a tail spinner on there if I wanted to. It's just it's up to your imagination. But I thought that would be interesting to do a video on that, because you've got 4 rods and reels in 2 matching combos, which I think is kind of interesting. And yeah, same line is on the casting, same line is on the spinning. So everything still kind of feels the same. So no matter which one I pick up, I'm going to know what it's going to feel like. You know, do you have to do that? No, you don't have to do that. And like I said, this is vintage stuff. This is going old school. This is what you call retro Bassin. Kicking some never mind. Love you, Chris. But that's it's definitely retro. It's old school. But I'm going to tell you what, this equipment is nothing to sneeze at. It's still good today. What separates it? A few decades. Doesn't mean it's crap. Nope. Especially when it's in this kind of condition. That's still brand new out of the showroom. You know, and I've been using these reels right here for 20 years plus. It's just that I take care of my stuff. I don't beat it and bash it around everywhere. That's why I'm always iffy about buying vintage reels on eBay, because there's certain things I'll look for that you guys don't normally look for. And if I see certain rashes or rust spots in certain particular areas in reels, I know there's going to be an issue there. I'm going to get my spare parts out. So I tend to, if I buy them, I tend to lowball as far as I can go with it, because everything else is fine. It's just there's certain parts missing or certain parts messed up. Same thing for rods. You got to be very careful about rods, because there's one thing about a rod that you don't know, and that's how it was treated. So that's something to think of too, because you don't know if it, maybe you got, almost slammed in the door of a vehicle or a tailgate of a truck, or worst case scenario, somebody ships this to you in a cheap cardboard wrapping, which, oh my gosh, don't even get me started on that. And if there's any kind of wham kind of damage to it, but you can't physically see it, the next time you go to set the hook, the rod snaps. And I'll show you an example. I mean, check this out. That's a beautiful Daiwa strike gold 5.5 foot medium light. I mean, we're talking extra fast tip. You know, you've got a lot of backbone right here, and here's the other half of the rod. First trip on the water. What does that tell you? You want to talk about somebody who's brokenhearted? Because that rod was brand new. The only thing it was missing was tags. But this rod's never been used. Brand spanking new. Broke 1.5 foot down off a tip on a hook set. Why? Right there at the guide, apparently somewhere down the road, this rod, it either got bent in a door, or something dropped on it and slightly crushed the graphite. Or I do remember this rod came in a cheap cardboard folded box that was pieced together 3 or 4 different ways. Freaking moron. And when it came to me, it had a crease right here in the box. Chances are this got damaged during shipping and was stressed just enough in the bending, because the box was cracked. It was cracked right here, because I can take the box and go like this with it. So that always scares the crap out of me. So be careful with that, guys. If you ever want to buy a vintage rod, or even a new rod from somebody off eBay or Etsy or Craigslist, anything, make sure they ship that stuff in a PVC tube or a cardboard tube. Don't let this happen to you. Thinking about this still breaks my heart. Because like I said, that's a brand new rod. And it was extra fast action. You know, in case you're wondering, 1983. That's sad, isn't it? 1983. That's my buddy Steve at Daiwa told me. 1983. It is what it is. Still breaks my heart. Anyway, that's what I got to say about, antique combos. That's my rant for the day on old stuff. That still breaks my heart. But, like I said, I got a couple of matching bait casters, a couple of matching spinning rods, and if you're really trying to start bass fishing, you're trying to get into it or whatever, definitely look into matching equipment, because it will make it easier on you, make it easier to cast, it'll make it easier to present lures. You don't have to have technique-specific type of things. You don't have to have that. I build them for myself, but as far as just like the old stuff or stuff that are still readily available from the old days or whatever, you don't have to be technique-specific with things. Absolutely not. The rods weren't like that back in the days. And guess what? Everybody still caught fish and was still winning Bassmasters Classics back in them days. Back when it was worth something. So, think about it. I mean, if you're having casting issues, if you're having presentation issues. You're fighting one rod over another to do something, or worming or whatever. It's the equipment. It's not necessarily you. It's probably the equipment. So that's something you have to look into. That's all I got to say about that, guys. I do have a bait casting setup that I want to do a video on here down the road that I put together with my old pistol grips, and thought I would share that with you. My final decision on stuff like that. And no, there's no spinning rods in that setup at all. It's all bait casters. But it does nothing against spinning rods at all. Like I said, I got 2 of them in this right here. So that's just kind of how that turned out. I don't know. Can't throw slider worms on it, but then again, it is what it is. So anyway, that's all I got, guys. I hope this helps you out. I hope this gets you to think a little bit. I mean, you can agree or disagree. That's what makes this sport beautiful, man. Everybody has their own way of doing it. And if you're catching fish, you ain't wrong. Just think about that for a minute. Anyway, tight lines to you guys. May the Father bless you and keep you in Yeshua's name. And as always, fish on.